Om Swastiastu, Bapak Ibu. Today I want to present my uh, finding research about learning to analyze contemporary literary works using the Fairclough linguistic property model. Yeah, I will begin with my introduction. Literary product is a result of for the formation of authors. Authors who are intentionally rooted in literary works. As a human product, literature is inseparable from the author's ideology. That's why Edward Said said that literary works were tricky. Literary works involve Orientalism. In this context, Fairclough suggests that literary works or texts are not neutral. Such a literary work is characterized by an abuse of power. This abuse of power is ideological and will have an influence on readers. The sixth grade student at the Department of Indonesian Language and Literature, the Faculty of Languages and Arts, UNISA, is a literary reader. They also read literary works written by Balinese authors in advanced literary studies. As a product of the order, the literary works read by the student contain an ideology. Negative ideologies can influence the student paradigm. Contemporary literary analysis learning is thus geared toward the critical exploration of the author's ideology. One approach to encourage student critical thinking in the analysis of literary works is to introduce the Fairclough linguistic property. This paper describes, interprets, and explains the learning of contemporary literary analysis using Fairclough critical discourse analysis. Specifically, this paper describes, interprets, and explains the first learning contemporary literary analysis by applying Fairclough linguistic property, and second, describe, interpret, and explain student ability to find author's ideology. Method. This research approach uses the qualitative descriptive design of the study, and researchers do not use quantitative or statistical data. Researchers use the data in the form of words, phrases, and sentences. The subject of this study were 26 students in the Indonesian Language and Literature Department in the 6th semester. The object of this research are the use of the Fairclough model linguistic property theory in learning contemporary literary analysis and the ability of students to find the author's ideology in literary works they have created. The data analysis technique of this research uses Fairclough linguistic properties and Fairclough discourse dimension, include text analysis, text interpretation, and explaining the social practices of the text as shown in Figure 1. Yeah. Finding and discussion. Reading activities are the key activity in the application of the critical discourse analysis. Locke in 2004 notes that the heart of the critical discourse analysis is the process of reading. The student has the opportunity to find power relation through the act of reading. Contemporary literary learning aims to develop the literary analysis skill of students. Higher education must be critical. Throughout the critical discourse analysis, students can examine critical discourse. Students must do the process of reading to achieve this learning purpose. Before students read literary works, they study Fairclough linguistic property. They must grasp this theory in such a way that they can define, interpret, and explain the abuse of power in literary discourse. This process is related to Fairclough discourse dimension and discourse analysis, namely socio-cultural practice, discourse practice, and text. In analyzing the text, Fairclough constructed a grouping of analysis scales, including vocabulary, grammar, cohesion, and text structure. Vocabulary involves the meaning of the word, the wording, the metaphor. Grammar includes modality, transitivity, and tone. Cohesion includes connectivity and argumentation. Text structure includes instructional control. They were taught the property of interpretation in contemporary literary analysis. They recognize and carry out a brief analysis of a simple literary discourse such as a short story quote. After they were trained of 3 meeting, they were given the task of analysis a short story entitled Mati Sunyi by Mas Ruscita and Hyang Ibu by Atina Oli. Analysis of short story by students using the critical discourse analysis approach can be seen in the choice of word, phrases, and sentences that involve abuse of power or practice identified in 2 short stories in Indonesia, namely Mati Sunyi and Hyang Ibu. These 2 short stories are about the life of Balinese people, about society and customary rules, and about death. Mati Sunyi tells the story of the death of a woman who was famous in Porridge country, but not one who attended when she died. Hyang Ibu also recalled the death of his mother, but the son who was expected to hold the ngaben ceremony was unable to pay off for the ceremony. Even though the son has no cause to hold the ceremony, the villagers work together to commemorate the ngaben ceremony for his mother. Students have done textual analysis on 2 short stories and relate them to social cultural practices. Socio-cultural practices are associated with the tradition of holding ceremony for the dead in Bali, which often lead to conflict. Ceremony for the dead in Bali often lead to practices of injustice, exclusion, and dominance. Some of these practices are reflected in the story of the Mati Sunyi as student textual analysis. Mati Sunyi is seen as a discourse, and the text holds hidden agenda. This negative word or denial serve to refute or deny fact. Ia terkenal mendunia, tetapi ia bukan apa-apa jika di desa. The word bukan is a form of negation in Indonesia. That is, the village as an institution that legitimizes traditional power has legitimized that people who are famous, achievers, advanced, modern, do not receive recognition when in the village in Bali. Meanwhile, Balinese who live in the village, although not pretended, not modern, always get recognition. Through this form of denial, the Mati Sunyi has produced consumed traditional regulation in the village or awig-awig so that the Balinese people remain in Bali, carry out customary rules, serve the custom. The traditional rules are perpetuated by the participant or readers, whether consciously or not. The process of perpetuating this rule is inseparable from the discursive concept that is always influenced and influences other discourses. said Fairclough. The word of negation in the short story as linguistic form are used in various expression and manipulation of power. In this analysis of Hyang Ibu short story, students can find adjectives that reflect an imbalance as the word in table 2. Yeah. In table 2, there are two categories of group, namely superior group and subaltern group. The subaltern group in student identification is a group of people in the village who are still faithful in carrying out the tradition of awik-awik. Analysis of short story by student so that the two short story analysts correlate the power relation between text and socio-cultural values that perpetuate other authority. In the analysis conducted by students, they have been able to apply critical discourse analysis in short story analysis. My conclusion is, students of Indonesian language and literature education are able to describe, interpret, and explain the power relation that occur in contemporary literary texts. Before they analyze, they studied the playful discourse dimension and analyze dimension, including linguistic property. Okay, Bapak Ibu, that's all my presentation today. Thanks for all attention. Om Santi Santi Santi. Bye.